On the bench today is my PL41. Had this for a couple years now. A little bit of the background on this turntable before I kind of caught on to buying vintage equipment off of eBay to either service or restore or repair. I bought this and it was, the seller stated that it was untested, right? So I get the turntable, there's no sound, the motor wasn't running, you know, it was kind of a mess. The reason there was no sound is the tone arm wires were broken, right? I bought it as is, which was fine. I didn't pitch a fit with the seller because they said it was untested. But one thing that I failed to do, that I do on a regular basis now, and I may do a video on kind of a buying guide, at least my perspective on how to find vintage stuff to repair or work on, you know, if you want to do this as a hobby. After I get it and I have the problems with it, I look at the seller and I see that the seller, they sold vintage equipment and parts. So how, and they specialized in turntables. So how do you do that? How do you part these things out? How do you sell these as repaired or refurbished, yet have one that you haven't tested? Right? Like it didn't, after the fact, it didn't sit well with me. Because I would think that someone who sells repaired turntables and equipment and parts, they would look at this and test it and determine what was wrong with it and then repair it or sell it. Well, they found that the tone arm wires were cut or broken, and that's a pain in the ass, and they chose not to fix it. They chose to pass it on to someone else. Which again, there's no problem with that, but be honest about the condition and, you know, if it has bad tone arm wires. And I didn't pay a lot for this. This was like 3 years ago. I think I paid less than $100 for this. Shipped. So that's a decent price because these are great turntables. I think this was Pioneer's top of the line. It's, you know, PL41 professional turntable. So what are we going to be doing with this today? I have a PL30 that I have in another video. I have this PL41. This is going to get a basic service because it's been a few years. So I'm going to kind of I'm going to lube the spindle, and I'm also going to replace what's called the thrust bearing. I apologize if you hear the heater in the background, but it is, what is it today? I think it's 10 degrees out. So I have videos where I'm shooting when it's 110 with the heat index. And this week it's going to be -15 air temp with a -40 wind chill. So, yeah, so you get both extremes here. And it was like 35 degrees in the garage. Now it's warmed up to about, it's almost 45. So anyway, let's get into this and do our thing. So slip mat, this little covers where the belt attaches to the motor. I did put a new belt on this when I got it. The platter should pop right off. Oh, this has, okay, so there's a lock on the inside of this one. I could not remember that. Luckily, this doesn't have the bottom attached. There's a bottom plate. However, I ordered a bottom plate off of eBay, and it seems to be lost in the mail. So, let's see, I'm trying to remember on this one how to, right, so I'm trying to like not have things fall apart on me. So here's the bottom of the spindle shaft. Right, just unscrews like this. There was a gasket there that has since deteriorated. And if you look at the inside of this cap, see that black stuff there, and with that divot in the middle where it's kind of cupped? That is the old thrust bearing that after 50 years has disintegrated. That's what we're going to be replacing, as well as the gasket that goes with it. On this one, this ring, so there's a ring on the bottom of the bearing shaft assembly that I need to remove. I don't remember this being locked in place though, but again, it has been years since I've worked on this, so I think it just is probably stuck. So let me let's see. Just stuck in place. Alright, let me pause the camera. I'm just going to tap this a couple more times, and it's been sitting out here. It's really cold. I may have to get a little heat out, but that should just pop right off of there. So, but I'm not going to put you through that while I coax this to cooperating. Alright, screwdriver did the trick. Well, at least it started to do the trick. Alright, this thing weighs a ton. Alright, so that bearing popped out of there, the spindle shaft came out. So what I'll be doing with this today is cleaning underneath here. Got some gunk, and yeah, I don't know what that is. So the housing is in there still. I'm going to unscrew that and remove it because I'm going to have to clean. You know, actually, I think I'm going to leave it on there because if this is aligned and everything is straight, I don't want to mess with that. I don't want to mess with the alignment. So we'll go into removing the old thrust bearing. I'm going to pop this up on its side, get it out of the way, and just take a screwdriver and remove the old thrust bearing. And you can see it has fallen apart. And there's a little metal plate that it sits on. I'm going to clean that up, clean this out, scrape off the old gasket. Pat's Audio on eBay, you can buy the new thrust bearing and it comes with a gasket. So that's awesome. Need to get this trash out of the way. I don't know if I mentioned this already, but it's too cold to do any soldering in here. I mean, it's not too cold to do any soldering, but today I plan on doing lots of non-soldering activities because the stuff that I store in the garage, like the equipment that I have to work on, naturally, if the air temp is 35 degrees, that means that the temp of the device I'm going to be working on is going to be 30 degrees, and it's tough to solder when the metal's that cold. And I don't want to create any issues with, you know, bad solder joints or cracking things because of the change in temperature. You know, take something really cold, heat it up, and things crack. So when it's this cold, if I do plan on working on something, I'll take it in the house and let it warm up overnight, and then I'll bring it out into the garage. I need to let everything out here warm up. I run the heater for a little bit. So, and when I edit this video, if that heater's too loud, I won't be using it in the future. But well, this is going to take a little bit of effort to clean it. So what I'll do is I'll speed through the rest of the cleaning, but I want to get all of this gunk out of there, and including the threads. There's junk in the threads, so it's gonna be a little bit before I can start thinking about reassembling this. So let Let me put you on super fast mode and do that. All right, so that, probably can't really see that, but that old gasket has etched both the cap and the shaft that everything sits in. Not really anything I can do at this point with that. I mean, I guess I could try to, you know, sand it smooth. I mean, there has a gasket, so like I don't need to go crazy with doing anything in that regard. So, I'm gonna try this initially, keeping that little metal plate in there, and I will remove the plate and the gasket. So there's the gasket, there's the plate. Perfect. Sits right down in there, perfect. Alright, I'm going to clean this off. I will run a cotton swab down that shaft, but put that there for now. Just to see if there's any gunk in there. Yeah, I think this was this may have been the first turntable that I fixed. I think I may have had a couple of other Pioneer, like a 45, PL45, I remember that was an early one, a PL55. But, you know, it was a couple of years ago, three or 4 years ago. Well, it's not too bad. Get all that crap out of there. All right. Had to find my real oil. I was working on something else and moved it off my bench. So, alright, so first thing, I'm going to put some real butter on this. Again, this is just fishing reel oil that I've had forever, that I actually bought to use for fishing reels, not for this. Oops. Make sure I get enough oil on that. Perfect. Put the gasket on the outside. Make sure that's seated. Oops, and the cap and the new thrust bearing. I'm going to snug it. I'm not going to go crazy. And what I want to test for now, or check for now, is how that platter sits. I want to make sure it's not sitting too high. And oh yeah, perfect. And it will spin for days. That platter's so heavy. Well, maybe not days. Oh man, come on. Cooperate with me. The problem is there's nothing to really grab onto on this side over here, because this is a kind of a raised lip. Now let's see if we can clean up some of this gunk. Gosh, I didn't do a very good job cleaning this. Not sure what that is. I don't remember if this had a disintegrated belt in it. It probably did. Oh man, that stuff is... There's some rust. There's who knows what on this thing. A lot of the stuff. I don't know if it's going to come off or not. So I think I mentioned the bottom that I bought. I may not have, but it seems to be lost in the mail currently. It's supposed to be here 4 days ago. This is December 18th of 2022. So I'm just going to assume that it's caught in the mail system with all the holiday packages being shipped. Man. Well, this is kind of boring, so let me... Oh, there's no date here. This one... So you can look up, that's set to 50 cycles a second. It should be 60. I wonder if I moved that when I took that off there. Well, anyway, I'm going to speed through cleaning this up. I'm not sure how good I'm going to get it. This seems to be some kind of liquid damage there, so see what I can do. I'm not sure what that stuff is. I might go throw this in the sink and let it soak. I think it's just some kind of oxidation or staining. Maybe. Yeah, I don't think it's coming off. Alright, so next I have not treated this with some wax and feed. I'm going to grab it. It's behind me on my cart. And I'm going to clean this plinth up a little bit. Or feed and wax. I think it said wax feed. See if I can make this look a little bit better. This does not like the cold at all. Jeez. If I can get that out, I may have to unscrew the top. Alright, let's I'll speed through this, clean this plinth up a little bit. Alright, so I'm going to let that soak in for 20 minutes. One thing I haven't done with this turntable that, at least I don't recall doing it, was calibrating or verifying the speed. With that 50 to 60 hertz switch set to 50 hertz, I'm kind of curious as to what effect that'll have. I may have to pull this back off. I mean, it should be set for 60. But let me grab my spare phone. Oh, actually, you know, do I have my phone? I have my other phone. Let's use my real phone on this. And check out the speed on this. So ooh, that's a little fast. But you know, This belt seems to be a little tight. I'm not sure. All right, let me pull that off. This belt seems a little tight on here. And I think I actually have a belt for this. So let me pull this off because that's, I don't think it should be that tight. Yeah, I think I probably replaced the belt with something I bought off eBay, or shoot, maybe this came with the belt. I don't remember, but that is pretty tight. So let me see what I have and replace that. It's a big belt. Yeah, look at that. That's weird. I've never seen them do that before. Okay. Let me see what I got. I may have one. I think this big one here. And this is just coming from like a rack of belts that I have. I didn't have anything quite large enough for this, but I think this is more the size. Oh yeah, that's... Let's see how this one works. Otherwise, I'll probably just order a new one. Just slides on there. Weird. Ouch. Just pinched my finger. Alright. See if that did anything for the speed. No. That's interesting, because I don't remember this running fast at all. So let's see about flipping that switch that I flipped from 50 to 60. Because that's how it was. Now there is another spindle shaft, so, and I have no idea where this came from originally. Yeah, it goes right up to, huh, that's weird. That is weird. I may have to order a new belt for this. Maybe the new thrust bearing increase the speed. I'm not sure why that doesn't change that. Yeah, maybe I'll get a new belt for this. Make sure I got the right belt on it. Let me check my belts again, make sure I don't have anything that might fit this. So when I look at this spindle shaft, and I look at the guide, to me it looks like the spindle shaft is sitting a little bit too high, right? So I'm gonna see if I can move it down. It may not move, and it may be in the right position, but when it's aligned to the guide, it sits too low on the shaft. At least that's how it looks to me. And good luck freeing these up, these screws. There we go. So it looks to me like I've got about 1/4 of an inch gap between top of the motor and the bottom of the shaft, and this screw's not loosening up at all. Oh, there we go. Oh yeah. Oh no, that's... It may be down as far as it goes. There's air. I'm going to remove one of these completely because it's not really sitting down in that shaft. This may not do anything. No. But I can, oh yeah, I can force it in. Yeah, now it's more like, I think, if I look at where that belt will sit, yeah, taking that out wasn't a good idea. Get back in there. I'm just going to do trial and error on this. Just see if I can get that speed regulated a little bit better. See what that looks like. All right, let's see what speed looks like there. Better, but it's still too fast. Yeah, let it run for a minute and see what happens. Well, it doesn't look like it's slowing down, so let me pop this off and see what else I can do here. Alright, I think I got it regulated. So there's some gunk on the spindle shaft, and I actually went and put the original belt back on. Even though it was doing that weird curling up thing, it was it's stretchier than the other one, if that makes sense. It's more elastic than the other one was. I thought the other one would be looser, but this one seems to be a little bit looser. So, and then so I cleaned off the gunk off of that shaft because there was like a you could feel like a almost like a little, I don't know, chunk of something on there. So now put it on there and seems to hang out at 33.49, 33.48. Wow and flutter on this thing. I think I have the set because I'm usually testing turntables. I have it set to 60 seconds. If I set it to 10 seconds and throw it on here, I'm just curious about the wow and flutter. 33.41. I know that it doesn't really get to settle in, and I'm trusting, you know, the phone. Well, let's do it this way. Let me go back to 60. I just will power through the test. I'll forward through the test and tap to reset. See what the speed is. Okay. So this shows a wow and flutter of 0.31. Gosh, just looking at some of my other ones, this is lower than a lot of them. Probably it's not ideal, but it's lower than a lot of them. And these are just historical. I think I've told you I've worked on a lot of turntables. These are all turntables that I've tested at different points in time, going back to December of 2020, and I was working on turntables before that. But that's when I started using this particular app. I used another one before that. So these are all turntables I've tested. In fact, this one, when I tested it in January of 2021, I was getting 0.62 and 0.58 wow and flutter, and now I'm getting 0.31. So no doubt the thrust bearing, changing that out, had a direct effect on that. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this video up. So this was the thrust bearing on the Pioneer PL41. May do a dust cover polish, but you've seen that tons of times, and this dust cover isn't in bad shape. Plus it's kind of cold. I may not be able to do that in the garage today. Although my heater has it up to almost 50, so I'm going to shut it off here in a minute. So anyway, if you like what you see, hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.